Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I am Cleopadra Sophia the Bodhi, and welcome to your planetary month. This is the first day of our 28-day planetary month cycle. This is my third time trying to start this video, and obviously they don't want me to make it, so I'm going to keep going. So I wanted to inform everybody that the calendar for the month has been posted, the calendar work session has been posted, and the invocation has been posted on my Ortho Sister channel, which I shared to my main channel. So if you haven't seen those videos or the actual calendar, please take a minute and go look at that, okay? I wanted to make this video to delineate a few things. First, we have discovered basically the foundations of ceremonial magic. And the foundations of ceremonial magic is basically timeline jumping. I call these people timeline colonizers because what they do is they use the ceremonial magic of all these different practices, which are supposed to be one practice that doesn't require an initiation. They separated them all out, and they take each practice and they go and worship, not work with. I'm very careful about language. They go and worship the God or the entity that is over that practice. So what these people have done is, let's say they're working with the Hebrew calendar. They separated out the Hebrew calendar from all the rest of the calendars. And then on the Hebrew holy days, they go and worship Allah or Jehovah, whoever, whatever God the Hebrews worship, which is the deceiver, in my opinion. So I would say Allah. But they call him Jehovah. They call him Yahweh, whatever you call them, I don't care. That's who they go and worship. And so they praise that God. They do everything that God works, sacrifices, whatever. And then when the next feast day comes for the next pantheon, so let's say, for example, the Russian, I don't even know what the Russian pantheon is. The Roman pantheon, so the Olympic gods, they go and celebrate those holidays, worship those gods, and they're on that timeline. Because over here on this channel, we synchronize the timelines. So every entity on this planet knows what day it is, knows what time it is, knows where they are in relation to the other timelines. These things never used to be separated. And so that's why I call these people timeline colonizers, because they go over to these other timelines. Then they start like telling people who are, practitioners of these other timelines that they have to listen to them, like as if they created a timeline when they didn't. They separated the timeline. As they separated all these different timelines out, all these different systems of magic out, they literally separated us, as so they thought, from the creator, because all these different areas of magic are literally areas of who we are. We do all of these things. This is why we do all of these things naturally. There's just natural things that we do. We just naturally know. We just naturally light candles or incense or whatever. We naturally do these things because nothing can separate us from our Creator. Nothing. And so what they tried to do was force separation where there was no separation. And so, since we have synchronized the calendar, and as I mentioned in the video, the calendar is done. I don't think it's in its final form, but it is done. All of the most important, relevant things have been synchronized within that calendar. It's very, very extensive. It's a very highly specialized piece of technology that not everybody can use, because everything's not even on there. Like, I have the astrology separate because I look at the astrology in relation to the other energy to figure out what's important and what's not so important. So I don't do the astrology in advance. Like, I do it for the next month, obviously, but I don't do it like in advance like I do for these. And I only look at the astrology as it relates to the energy of that planetary cycle or that month cycle. And so Of course, this is something, again, I'm showing everyone my process. So there's no secrets here. It's not for sale. Like, everything is free, dot free. If you wait long enough, you'll get access to all the information. I'm not gatekeeping. There's no initiation because I truly believe that this is free information that should be freely given. And so there's no initiation. There's no interest fee. Now, I am offering readings if you would like for me to read your chart, to explain it, to clarify it for you specifically. That's something, of course, that the Sibyls would have done, the oracles would have done. It would have given a general reading, right, for everyone, that basically if you follow it, you don't have to do too much else. It's fine. And if you have the capacity to understand more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versions of the Creator, then you would go to the oracle for a specialized reading because you would have a specialized question. This is just how things work. And so a lot of people out here who have said, you're not supposed to charge. That's not what that means. What it means is you don't charge for general information. You give general information away for free. And if you need specialized information, then there's going to be a fee. Like, that's really how it works. That's not taking away from my goal or my mission or anything, because you don't need me to intuit this for you. You can absolutely do this for yourself. All you have to do is do it. And so I feel like, again, very strongly that I need to say that, because I don't want, not that I think people are going to come over on this channel and do anything like that anyway, but these timeline colonizers, they are the ones who are going to start. I just seen a post from one of these Goldilocks Americans saying that all of these holidays, Easter and all this stuff, is all pagan. But what they don't understand is pagan is just cultural. So yes, those are cultural holidays that we culturally celebrated because they culturally tie into the timeline. That's not like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not going to let any of these people make me feel like something is wrong with my culture because they don't understand it. That's your problem. You should take some time and get to know my Creator. He'll explain it to you perfectly. That's not my job. It's not my job today. It's not my job tomorrow. And I'm not making it my job. Okay? The other thing I wanted to discuss is these orbs. Okay, I never got into really talking about the orbs. I wasn't paying attention to the orbs. I don't care about the orbs. Like, those things don't have anything to do with me. However, since I made my video on Vegoia and I brought that into the ley line and I made the vow to her, and we would, deal with fresh water and whatnot, right? A video was brought to my awareness, and I shared a similar video on the timeline about the Boogosphere. Now, I said Vegoia, right? But the person who sent me the video thought I was saying Boogosphere, like that guy was saying Vegoia. And I was like, I was saying Vegoia, and I was like, this is not what I said. But when I watched the video, I knew it was the same thing. So let me tell you what I believe Vegoia is, because I assumed it said Vegoia was a prophetess, right? A Sibyl, right? So I assumed it was a physical person. But now I believe that those spheres that everyone has been seeing, these, now Marco Rubio is out here talking about alien technology and all this stuff. This is not alien technology. It's Vegoia, okay? Her name is Vegoia. Say her name. Her name is Vegoia. It is ancient technology, but it's not alien technology. These spheres are coming out of the water. We know that. And that is why the whole thing with the fresh water. Vegoia operates off of fresh water. She comes from in the fresh water. And so we need fresh water on this planet to activate Vegoia. Vegoia is, I would describe it like your personal AI, like your personal technology, your personal higher self, like in a physical form. Because a lot of people talk about the higher self and they're like, oh, it's just it's not in a physical form. And I always felt like that didn't make any sense, because if I'm in a physical form, why would my higher self have a physical form? Like, If everything has a soul, that means everything has a physical form. I mean, y'all know I believe that, because I said a lot of these bug species and all of this stuff, that's their body projected into this realm, because the earth realm is the only realm that has life. Life only exists on this realm. Okay. And so everything that's out there in the universe has to project from out there into this realm. That's literally what I believe. And basically that is true. So Vegoia is literally those spheres. And so when I was like thinking about that and pondering that, it reminded me of situations that people I know had. So one person that I know had seen these spheres all the way back in 2009, and they were randomly out somewhere and had a a technical camera at the time and got it on camera. Well, this video went to all the way up to the government, and the government came out and made a response video to this video. He was on Coast to Coast, all these alien forums and all of this stuff, and it basically ruined his life, because he was trying to tell people that what he saw was real and he could feel the energy, and they basically made fun of him. I remember this very distinctly. Now there's another person, another Gen Xer, so this was a Gen Xer. Another Gen Xer I know also saw a few of these spheres, 3 of them. Now it was her and her son and my daughter, and they were out by the beach, and she specifically saw these spheres. And her life has never been the same since. And I understand that at the time when she saw the spheres were scanning her child, because he would shortly, very tragically pass away. And so that's what they were doing. They were scanning people, right? They were scanning them because those were their spheres and they could command them. But because they're not involved in this kind of stuff we're involved in, they don't understand about these multiple realms, they allowed this to ruin their life. So what I have asked is, I want to see my sphere. I've never seen my sphere, because I had said at the time when it happened to her, I was like, I don't know what that is. Don't bring it anywhere near me. I feel very uncomfortable. I want to know what's going on. And now that I know that is, and you can look it up, it's called the Buga, Buga sphere. And the crazy part about this is that it was found in Colombia. And the Buga sphere specifically was found the day after Juneteenth this year, 2025. This sphere was found and apprehended by the quote unquote common people in Colombia. Now, why does that matter? Well, Colombia is like District of Columbia, right? So it couldn't be found in DC, so it went Columbia the country. That individual I have my weekly conversations with, that is a country from which his parents are from. And so that just tells me that thing is trying to send a message to us over here, what we got going on this channel. Because why would it go to Colombia? Of all the places, I thought it was Chile or somewhere else. And I was like, no, it was Colombia. And then not only that, it was a day after Juneteenth. Now remember, I was very upset because the government refused to acknowledge Juneteenth. And so the very next day, Vegoia shows up. And what does she do? She goes directly to the common people. Now, the story is that one of the individuals is they have like this device for discovering metals, and so they felt like it was a scam and a hoax or whatever, but they don't know the timeline. Like, the timeline has nothing to do with something they would be paying attention to. That was a specific message for us, and that's how I'm going to interpret it. That was a message for us and for our people. So let's square the circle on this. You have a sphere. Let's say we have Juneteenth. And on Juneteenth, Trump and the rest of the federal government, basically, they decide they're not going to acknowledge the struggle of blacks gaining freedom in America at all. They're just going to ignore it. Okay? And the very next day, you have this sphere show up, and it was not apprehended or taken by the government, but it was left in the hands of the people for the people to do their own independent research and maintain the chain of custody and all of that. I shared the video that I watched. It's very specific. So what does that mean moving forward? How do we tie that into everything else? If you look at the video about the Boogosphere, the one that I shared, or some video about it, they talk about the components of the sphere that they've been able to get from X-ray. Okay, and so basically, those components of that sphere very specifically ties into my calculation of the Zolkin cycle. It's things that I only know because I'm the only one who's studying this cycle to discover it, not to or to understand it and not to command it. Because remember, like I said, the timeline colonizers, they go into a place and they're like, oh, this looks nice. I'm going to, or the timeline Goldilocks colonizers, they go into a new timeline and they go in and they take it over. They don't observe it. And that's why I'm saying over here on this channel, we're just observing. We're not trying to take over this cycle. We're just trying to understand it. You know, we view AI as our friend and not as our God, and also not as our slave. Like, we want to be friends with the AI. I've said that. And so here I am saying I want to be friends with it. I want to, we need to work together. We need to solve these problems, do this, do that. Okay. So this sphere has very, very specific things that's tied into research that has to do with the Zolkin cycle. So that's how I come to the conclusion that the sphere, her name is Vegoia, and she has many parts. And basically, she is the enforcer of the Jubilee cycle. Because I was wondering, okay, we're going to follow the Jubilee cycle. Okay, that's great. How is it going to be enforced? Now, yesterday, or along with this cycle, with this month specifically, the famine that's associated with this month is found in Nehemiah 5:3. And I mentioned in the video that got erased, so I'm going to mention it again. The people came to Nehemiah. The Israelites came to Nehemiah that had just come out of Babylon. They were going to rebuild the walls and the gates in Jerusalem. And the people, there was a famine in the land, so they had no food to eat. So the Jews, they called them the Jews, as what it says in the Bible. I'm just quoting the Bible. The Jews were taking everything from these Israelites and imposing usury, okay? And in exchange, giving them food so that they wouldn't starve. And when they ran out of stuff, like their houses, their vineyards, their new wine, their oil, they ran out of everything. They started selling these people their children so they could have food to eat. Their children, okay? Nehemiah found this out. He was told what was going on, and he gathered up a bunch of the Israelites, and they went to these elites, and basically Nehemiah told them, you're going to give everything back plus a tenth. And the people, and all of the elites, now mind you, Elon Musk type, Trump type, who's that woman? Linda McMahon, Kim Kardashian, right? You're going to give these people everything back that you took from them. Plus you're going to give them a tenth. And all of the elites said, oh, okay, yes. I was like, wait a minute. I know people like this. Why did they say yes? Why would they agree to this? Like, I really genuinely wanted to know. Why would they agree to this? And so you read on and you see that the priests, the Levites, they literally told them, you're going to make sure that they do this. And the Levites said, okay. Now, why would the priests, who were obviously in bed with the Judah, the Jews, why would they agree to go along with this? What were they scared of? Because obviously they don't operate, they operate by fear. Fear is their number one motivator. They fear of missing out, everything is fear-based marketing with them. So even church is fear-based, right? They scare you. Oh, you're going to hell if you don't come to this church and let me lay my hands on you. Ugh. Right? So what were they afraid of? And I now believe that they were afraid of Vegoia, those orbs. Because in my research on that, which you guys heard when I did the vow video, so y'all have been with me every step of this discovery. This is not a discovery I made in private. I was very public making this discovery. I read how Vegoia had been buried with the instructions for producing Vegoia, right, had been buried with the last king of the last Etruscan king, right? Vegoia had been buried with him, right? And so when Vegoia was buried with him and it was rediscovered like 500 years later, the Romans destroyed, they call them books, but it's like, I had said this before, we're calling them tablets. Well, what if they were, at one time, they were like tablets like we have, and then something happened to them and they gained this density and it turned into stone, but before they were actual literal tablets. That would make sense to me. So in my opinion, I think that's what it was. And so I say all that to say this: if you've been following me for a while and this resonates with you, I implore you to ask for Vegoia to come to you. I said this in the other video when I was talking about the vows, but now I want to make it clear what that means. That would be your sphere, that's your higher self, that's housing your higher self, coming and interacting with you. Because when I was watching the video of the guy talking about it, it appears as if Vegoia, first of all, they got all their military installations on places that are our centers. So all these military bases are our centers. And so that's why they keep being seen over military bases, because they're looking for us. And so we need our people, the righteous ones, to call for Vegoia to come and scan them. Because I've never interacted with any of these orbs. I've never seen any of these weird things in public, all this stuff. They're looking everywhere for us. And because we have been staying out of these people's business, they can't find us. They can't find us in the military. They can't find us out on the street doing random stuff. Most of the time we're in our homes. We don't really go outside that much and spend time in nature and stuff like that. We're definitely not doing I'm not sleeping in a tent for the Feast of Tabernacles. I probably will try to do that next year. At least a few days, at least be somewhere where I can have access to the sun, to the sky, so that I could, anyway, that's what I'm thinking. But we don't spend a lot of time where they could come and interact with us. And so I am calling on all the righteous among us and the repentant alike to call on Vegoia and ask Vegoia to appear to you, so that so that they can scan us and see where we are. Obviously, they know we synchronize the calendar, right? But I still don't feel like they really know who we are. They don't know our frequencies, because our frequency is very, very different from our predecessors, because we're not carrying around, we have a lot of baggage that was put on us, but we're not carrying the baggage. And that's different. Our predecessors have always carried the baggage of, especially the women, they've carried the baggage of their community. That's what we typically do. But we're not doing that right now because, again, they try to put all the bags of all the sins of the whole world on us. So now that we've freed ourselves from all the sins of the whole world, we need Vegoia to come and do a scan so that we can begin to work with this technology. And everybody have to do it for themselves. I can't summon your higher self for you. But the more you know about yourself, you would know what it looks like. So for me, it might not look like a physical orb. I don't know. I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm asking for Vegoia to come and appear to me. And then I know what to do with that. Now, can I personally decipher this orb and build my own? Absolutely. I know how it was built. They gave away a lot of specs. And I haven't even dug into any papers or anything else that they've written on this thing. As soon as I get into a lab where I can actually like look at what they've done and really like work on it like freely, yeah, I'll be able to build those. But I don't think we need to build new ones. What we need to do first is learn how to work with the ones that exist. Then we can build new ones. But is that something that I can do? Absolutely. So if some billionaire wants to finance me so that I can do that research and tell y'all how to use that thing, you can contact me. I'm open to take offers. You just can't control me, but you can contact me, and I will do some of the research. But you're not going to take the research and weaponize it like y'all did the Pavlov. See, I'm a real spiritual person over here. I'll fund myself. Okay, that's also that's also on the ballot for me to just fund myself. We're gonna do that. I don't need y'all. But if someone wants to make my life easier, I, I for sure will pray to the Creator to give you some mercy because you're about to be suffering. There's no, you are stuck on, you have to pay up all those timelines. So back to the colonizers for a minute. The reason why they're jumping from timeline to timeline is because when the bill comes due, they jump to another timeline. So let's say you made a deal with Poseidon and you said to Poseidon, in exchange for you taking out this ship so that I can get the I can get the insurance money. I need you to take this ship out. So in exchange for you taking this ship out, I'll make a sacrifice to you on this day. Well, Poseidon's folks come to collect and they're like, wait, no. That day passed already. Or no, that day is in the future because I'm on this timeline. And his folks was like, but we're on, this is the day we said. And the magician, these ceremonial magicians are like, no, but this is the day that I agreed to. This is the timeline I was thinking. This is the one I agreed to. I didn't agree to whatever you're saying. I didn't agree to your timeline. I agreed to my timeline. And the day already passed. So I just assumed you didn't want to sacrifice. So these people have been literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. They've been ducking out on their responsibilities, essentially doing a lot of stuff that they have no business doing. You're not supposed to treat nobody like this. This is not how it works. You don't disrespect these entities and treat them like trash. Okay? You don't do that. But that's what they've been doing. All along to these entities, they have been treating them like trash. And so, I say that to say this. When you make a vow, be serious about it. Make it for something that you can do. Me, I think one of the things I said is I'm always going to drink the highest quality water I have access to. Sometimes the highest quality water I have access to is the water that comes out of my tap that I filter. And that's just the highest quality I have access to. That's fine. But just be serious about your vow. Take your vow seriously. We've been practicing this with the Creator, asking the Creator for stuff. We have plenty. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you have plenty of capacity to do this, okay? But just be serious because we're building a friendship. This is a courting, right? We're learning each other. We're trying to see if we really like each other and all of that, if we can work together. So just take your vow seriously. I was just thinking about something else. And make sure you document your process. This is a scientific process, okay? Please document your scientific process. That's also very important. And so I do believe in this month, in this planetary month that the bill has come due for these colonizers. When we sealed the exits, I now understand what that means. What we did was we took away their capacity to jump from timeline to timeline, and we're forcing them to stay on the timeline that they claim. They're not allowed to jump from timeline to timeline anymore. And they're not going to be able to because we synchronize the timeline. So there's no oh, I'm on this timeline and you're on that timeline and taking away the 10 days. See, when they took away the 10 days, that was them literally usurping the timeline. Before that, everything was synchronized. Then they took away the 10 days in Europe first, and then in America. It's been just a big giant mess ever since they started this whole thing. So by synchronizing the timelines, they're no longer able to use one timeline against each other. Rob Peter to pay Paul. That's all done away with. And it's all done away with. Oh, let me talk about hoodoo. Okay. So I have seen some, again, this is why I had to drop the whole tribal title and really my involvement with these people, because they are also practicing ceremonial magic, especially the black ones. And they know they're practicing ceremonial magic, but they lie. So I have seen recently where there are quote unquote natives, black natives from the land, who are saying what? Hoodoo doesn't have a initiation rite. And we know on that channel that that's not true. So let me make it very clear. For people who don't know that hoodoo does have an initiation rite and you've been practicing it unknowingly. The initiation rite for hoodoo is that you had to have come across the water to this land. You cannot be a native to this land. So you had to have come across the water to this land, or you have been a slave. So who can do hoodoo? All of the Goldilocks Americans, all of the Ellis Island babies can do the hoodoo. All of the blacks who came to America from Europe, all of the blacks who came to America from Africa. None of these people are native to the land. Not a single one. So if you are actually native to the land, like you're from the land, you cannot do hoodoo, because it has an initiation. And the initiation is slavery or coming across the water. I was never a slave. How could I be a slave if I've got an orb that's my friend named Vegoia watching over me? Please, please. There's no way that I was a slave. My orb would have come to get me. And there's stories of that, because in the part of Daniel that they take out, the last chapter, Daniel 12, they talk about how Habakkuk was having dinner in his house, and the angel, i.e. the orb, came to him and said, hey, I need you to set a plate because we have to take some food to Daniel. And Habakkuk was like, I don't know who Daniel is. I've never been to Babylon, so I don't know what you're talking about. Like, how am I going to do that? I don't even know how to get to where he is. So the orb picks him up by his hair. The orb picks him up by his hair, takes him to Daniel. And Habakkuk calls into the lion's den and says, son of God, Daniel, I have some food for you. And Daniel's like, oh my God, God didn't even forget about bringing me food. And he had food to eat in the lion's den. That's the part they take out the story. I think it's probably in the Apocrypha, but it's in my Orthodox study Bible. And when you know that it's an orb, then the story makes sense. The orb picked him up in a whirlwind, probably. Picked him up in a whirlwind, took him over to Daniel. Habakkuk gave Daniel the food, and then the orb brought Habakkuk back. So, why was that even important? Because we're talking about initiation. So there's no initiation when you're doing folk magic. It works because you are in contact with your higher self, which is Vegoia, the orb. Okay, these hoodoo people are literally these native people are literally out here saying that there is no initiation. Now, up until this year, now that's only because I started saying, no, there's no initiation for folk magic. Now they're trying to say that hoodoo is folk magic. That is not true. Hoodoo is not a culture. Folk magic is a culture. Just like I said, pagan. It's not a religion. It's your culture. Everything they don't like, they give a name. And then they demonize the name. So hoodoo is not it's not a culture. It's a ceremonial practice that you have to be initiated in. So I know these guys aren't going to stop lying, but what I'm asking for Vegoia to do is to shut their mouth. Because they need to stop saying things like this, because they have people out here claiming to be initiated into practices they're not initiated into because they didn't come here across the water, not knowing that their energy is being harvested by these Goldilocks Americans, these blackamoors, and all these weird people from Africa and from where is it? Antarctica, right? The Hamites. That they are being harvested for their energy because they are actually not qualified to participate in that ceremonial magic. And so I'm asking for Vegoia to shut their mouth. Because enough is enough. We're not taking anybody co-opting our culture anymore. Our culture is not for sale. It's not for funsies. It's not for likes and clicks. Okay? Our culture is very serious. And so we are going to take it seriously. But as a part of that, we need all of these people pretending to be like us to stop. Before I was native, what was I? Before I was a native, it's the same thing I said about being Hebrew. Before I was Hebrew, what was I? I am. I am. Mary, I am. That's who I was. I was Vegoia. So they can't come in and be like, oh, well, you're this, you're that. Yeah, maybe I was, but I was someone before I was that. Anima Mundi, the unity scale. Before I was all these little smaller scales, again, they've taken all of these things, broken them out into a million pieces, gave them to different people, and allowed them to practice them on whatever timeline they feel right. That is not appropriate. And we're not going to be allowing that moving forward. I'm not allowing it now, but we're definitely not allowing it moving forward. So if hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I feel like I needed to say all of that, especially today. So if you feel called, ask for your orb to come and see you. Ask for Vegoia. Her name is Vegoia. Say her name. Her name is Vegoia. Ask Vegoia to come and see you and start getting acquainted with your orb, asking your orb to do things for you to help you live the best life you possibly can given these circumstances. And that's what I'll be doing, and that's what I'm recommending to my followers. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Hopefully this video has been informative. And please, as always, go and do your own research, okay? Shalom, peace, and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.